Part 1. The voice from the radio. The radio turned on by itself at exactly 1:11 a.m. At first, I thought it was just a power glitch. The old radio sat on a dusty shelf in my kitchen, untouched for years. It had no batteries, no cable, nothing that could possibly make it work. Yet there it was, whispering through thick static. Elias, my blood ran cold. No one had said my name like that since my mother died. The voice sounded weak and distant, as if it were traveling through a long tunnel. I stood up slowly and walked toward the radio. "Hello," I said. The static grew louder, then faded. "Don't go outside tonight." My chest tightened. I grabbed the radio and unplugged it from the wall, even though nothing was connected. The sound stopped instantly. I told myself I was tired, that my brain was playing tricks on me. But the next night, at exactly 1:11 a.m., it happened again. The radio turned on by itself. This time, the voice was clearer. "Elias, they are walking." I sat up in bed, staring into the darkness. Rain tapped against the window like fingernails. "Who are you?" I whispered. The radio answered, "We are what remains." I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I carried the radio to a repair shop downtown. The old man behind the counter examined it, turning it over in his hands. "This thing shouldn't work," he muttered. "There's no power source inside. Can you fix it?" I asked. He shook his head. "You shouldn't fix it. You should throw it away." I thanked him and took the radio back home. That night, curiosity won. I sat at the kitchen table and waited. At 1:11 a.m., the radio clicked on. Static filled the room, followed by a sound I hadn't expected. Crying. Not loud, not close. It sounded buried beneath layers of earth. "Where are you?" I asked. "Beneath your street," the voice replied. A strange number appeared on the radio display. 13.13 FM. "Our town burned once," the voice continued. "We never left." The air grew colder. My breath became visible. Outside, the streetlights flickered off one by one. Then I heard footsteps. Not outside. Inside my walls. Slow. Careful. I rushed to the window and looked down the street. No cars. No people. Just fog rolling across the asphalt. Suddenly, the radio spoke again. "They are close now." "Who are they?" I demanded. There was a long pause. "The ones who still walk." The radio burst into screaming static. Images flooded my mind: fire-consuming houses, people running, shadows burning into the ground. I dropped the radio. It hit the floor and went silent. When I picked it up again, something new was carved into its back. A word. Listen. That night, I dreamed of a town under my town, of streets filled with burned figures walking in circles, waiting for someone to hear them. And when I woke up, the radio was already turned on. Part 2. The town beneath. I couldn't ignore the radio anymore. Every night at 1:11 a.m., it turned on by itself. Sometimes it whispered names. Sometimes it cried. And sometimes it stayed silent while the static formed strange patterns, almost like breathing. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I stayed in the living room, close to the radio, afraid that if I left it alone, something would happen. On the fourth night, the voice spoke clearly. "You must remember us." "I don't know you," I said. "You live above us." The words sank into my chest like cold water. The next morning, I went to the town library. The building smelled of dust and wet paper. I searched through old newspapers, records, and city maps. After hours of digging, I found something strange. A map from 1947. It showed a town under my neighborhood. Same streets, same shape, different name. Ash Hollow. Another article described a fire. Tragedy in Ash Hollow. Entire town lost in underground blaze. The story claimed a coal mine beneath the town had collapsed and ignited. Fire spread through underground tunnels, trapping people inside their homes above. Smoke poisoned the air. By morning, Ash Hollow was gone. The survivors were moved and a new town was built over the ruins. My town. That night, the radio was already on when I entered the kitchen. "You know now," the voice said. Why are you talking to me? I asked. You live closest to the old center. My hands shook. What do you want? To be heard. The radio began to play something new. Footsteps. Hundreds of them. Marching. They walk every night. The voice whispered. We follow the roads we remember. The floor vibrated faintly beneath my feet. Look outside. Against every instinct, I pulled the curtain aside. Figures filled the street. Blackened shapes. Glowing faintly like embers under skin. Their faces were burned smooth. They moved slowly. In perfect lines. Following paths only they could see. None of them looked up. They can't see you, the voice said. But they will soon. I backed away from the window. Why me? Because you still listen. The radio crackled again. We need a mouth. Suddenly, pain exploded in my head. Memories that weren't mine flooded in fire. Screaming, choking smoke. Doors that would not open. I collapsed to the floor. When I woke up, the radio was beside me. A new message flickered on its screen. Tomorrow you speak. I tried to throw the radio away the next morning. The trash can was empty when I returned. That night, at 1:11 a.m., my own voice came from the radio, saying words I did not remember speaking. Come outside. Part 3. The night walk. As I stood frozen in the kitchen, staring at the radio as it repeated my own voice. Come outside. My throat felt dry. I hadn't said those words. I knew I hadn't. Yet the sound was unmistakably mine. Same tone. Same hesitation at the end of the sentence. I unplugged the radio and hurled it into the sink. The voice stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the whisper came from somewhere else. From inside my head. You already belong to us. I covered my ears, but the words continued. Open the door. The front door handle began to turn slowly on its own. I stepped back, my heart slamming against my ribs. The house creaked like it was settling into something deeper than night. Through the window, I saw them again. Dozens of burned figures filled the street. They moved in straight lines, following invisible roads beneath the asphalt. Some passed directly through parked cars and mailboxes, as if they were smoke. One of them stopped in front of my house. It lifted its head. For the first time, one of them looked at me. Its face was melted into a mask of ash, but I could still see its eyes, small glowing points buried deep inside blackened skin. The radio suddenly turned on again. You must walk with us. No, I whispered. I won't. You already are. The door burst open. Cold air rushed into the house, carrying the smell of burned wood and sulfur. My legs moved without permission. Step by step, I walked outside. The street was silent except for the soft sound of footsteps. The burned people surrounded me, forming a circle. They were closer now. I could see their clothes fused into their skin. Their hands were frozen in positions of panic, grabbing, reaching, shielding their faces. A child stood directly in front of me. Her voice came from the radio inside my house, echoing through the open door. We forgot how to leave. Images filled my mind, families trapped underground, screaming for help that never came. The town had burned from below, turning into a furnace. Those who tried to escape collapsed in the streets. Their shadows burned into the ground. You live on our roads, the voice said. You sleep above our homes. The child raised her hand and touched my chest. I felt heat, not on my skin, inside my lungs. I dropped to my knees, coughing smoke that wasn't there. You will speak for us, the voices said together. One living throat. Suddenly, I saw myself from above, standing in the street, surrounded by fire. My mouth opened, and words poured out. This is Ash Hollow. We are still here. The figures began to fade. One by one, they dissolved into drifting ash that sank into the pavement. When the street was empty, I was alone. I ran back inside and slammed the door shut. The radio was waiting on the table. A new frequency blinked. 13.13 FM. My voice played again, calm and steady. Tonight's broadcast has begun. I tried to scream, but the only sound that came out of my mouth was static. Part 4. The broadcast. I woke up on the kitchen floor. The radio was still playing. Static. Low voices. My voice. I rushed to the bathroom and tried to scream. Only a faint hiss escaped my throat, like air leaking from a broken pipe. Panic crawled up my spine. I hadn't lost my voice. It had been taken. That morning, the town felt wrong. People stood outside their houses, whispering to one another. Police cars blocked off to streets. Someone had gone missing during the night. A man named Carter lived 3 houses down from me. They said he walked outside at 1:11 a.m. and never came back. That night, the radio turned on earlier than usual. 12:47 a.m. My voice spoke without my permission. "This is Ash Hollow. We are still here." The sound traveled through every speaker in the house, through my phone, through the TV. Then something impossible happened. Other voices joined mine. Dozens of them, men, women, children, all speaking together. "We remember the fire." I ran outside. Lights flicked on across the neighborhood. Doors opened. People stepped into the street, confused and afraid. The voice echoed from car radios, open windows, and phones. "You live on our bones." I saw Carter, standing in the middle of the road. His eyes were empty. His skin was gray, like ash mixed with flesh. He turned toward me slowly. "I hear them now," he said calmly. Then he walked into the fog and vanished. The next day, 3 more people disappeared. Each one had lived directly above where Ash Hollow once stood. The library records changed. Maps began showing to towns layered on top of each other. My house appeared in both. That night, I locked myself in my bedroom and covered the radio with blankets. It didn't matter. The voice came from inside me now. "You opened the path." "I didn't mean to," I whispered. "You listened." I saw shadows moving under the floorboards. Not rats, not pipes. People, walking beneath the house. The walls began to grow warm. I felt heat in my chest again, spreading like fire through my veins. The radio spoke. "Tonight, we walk farther." Outside, sirens wailed, then stopped. The streetlights went dark. I looked through the window and saw hundreds of figures standing silently in the road. They were clearer now, less burned, more human. Their faces were returning. They were borrowing them, borrowing us. The radio whispered, "Soon, there will be no difference between your town and ours." I fell to my knees. "What do you want from me?" The answer came gently. To finish the broadcast. A new message appeared on the radio screen. "Final night, 1:11 a.m. I knew what it meant. If the broadcast finished, Ash Hollow would return, and my town would disappear. Part 5. The last broadcast. I didn't sleep. I sat in front of the radio and waited for 1:11 a.m. The house felt warmer with every passing minute, as if something beneath it was waking up. The floor vibrated softly, not like an earthquake, like breathing. The radio screen glowed in the dark. Final night, 1:11 a.m. I tried to destroy it. I smashed it against the wall. The plastic cracked. Sparks flew. The sound stopped for 1 second. Then the voice came from inside my chest. "You cannot silence what is remembered." My mouth moved on its own. "This is Ash Hollow. We are still here." I grabbed a kitchen knife and pressed it against my own throat. "No more," I whispered. For the first time, the voices hesitated. "You are our door," they said. "If you close, we remain lost." Images flooded my mind. People trapped in burning homes, pounding on doors that would never open. Children crying for parents who had already turned into smoke. A town erased from the world and buried under another one. They weren't trying to invade. They were trying to exist. Outside, the street was filled with figures again, not burned now. They looked almost human. Their clothes were old-fashioned, their faces tired and afraid. The clock hit 1:11 a.m. Every radio, every phone, every speaker in town turned on at once. My voice filled the night. "This is Ash Hollow. We are still here. We remember who we were." The ground shook. The asphalt cracked open like dry skin. Old streets rose through the pavement. Wooden houses appeared where cars had been parked. Store signs flickered into existence with names from another century. My town and Ash Hollow merged. People screamed as their houses changed shape around them. Walls turned into brick. windows into boarded glass. I felt myself being pulled apart. One part of me stood in the new street. Another part burned underground. You must stay, the voices said. One living heart to keep us here. I understood then. They didn't need a radio anymore. They needed a body. I walked into the center of the street, where Ash Hollow's old square had been. The child from before stood there, holding my hand. Thank you for listening, she said. The fire returned not outside, but inside my lungs. My vision filled with light. When the sun rose, Ash Hollow stood where my town once had. No fire, no ruins. A living town from the past. But I was gone. Weeks later, people said they heard a radio playing at night from the empty square. A calm voice speaking. This is Ash Hollow. We are still here. Sometimes they say the voice sounds like me. And if you listen closely after midnight, you can hear footsteps beneath your street. Because some towns don't die. They wait for someone to listen.